Hello and welcome to Filmcast Without a Cause. The F is silent. I'm Jacob Rosdale.
That was very good. I'm Patrick Boberg.
That, of course, is a reference to what we're going to be talking about later in the show, Django Unchained, the latest from Quentin Tarantino.
If you're new to the show and want to be part of the show, the best way to do that is hit us up on Twitter with a tweet at Filmcast, WOAC, or leave us a comment on our website, filmcastwithoutacause.com. But of course, we don't start the show with a review.
Of course
start
not.
it with the news.
The news. And there are a few interesting stories in the new year. Not a lot. One of these new announcements is for a film I know I'm looking forward to. Pat, I know you're a little colder on. Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby coming out this summer. Apparently didn't have a film score yet, even though it was supposed to come out originally in December, because they announced Jay-Z, Hova, will be producing the score for The Great Gatsby. And this got me thinking, it's kind of a, I don't know if it's a new trend. Obviously, Simon and Garfunkel did The Graduate, and you got Tangerine Dream doing Legend or Blade Runner, and who else? There's a bunch of them, you know?
I have a list here, but they're all pretty new. So,
okay. But and recently, like, Jack White was going to score the Lone Ranger film, and then because that got postponed, he had to step away, but he's still going to have some of his music in it. And Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead does Paul Thomas Anderson's film. So I wanted to ask you, Pat, who are some of your favorite pop musicians who have done scores? And what do you think about this pop musician? I'm using pop in quotes, which podcast listeners can't hear because I don't know if you would call Radiohead pop. But you know what I'm saying here. These popular musicians.
People that would know by name. People may not know. People don't have a Hans Zimmerman CD that they pop in their car. Or at least maybe not many people do.
Some people do.
You probably know this personally. Maybe our listeners don't, but I'm a big fan of the Chemical Brothers.
Oh, of course.
So when I saw they were attached to Hannah, and the trailer came out, it looked extra awesome. I was excited. And actually, that whistling theme is one of my ringtones that I commonly have rocking. But that's probably my favorite, followed by the Dust Brothers. Not the Chemical Brothers, but the Dust Brothers, who actually used to be the Chemical Brothers, but had changed their name. They're a duo who produce. They don't write music on their own, but they did the Fight Club score.
Oh, I thought that was also the Chemical Brothers.
No.
Maybe I'm so confused. There are too many brothers in the house or electronic music.
I know it's hard to deal with out there. And finally, I guess a pop group would be Fountains of Wayne, that wrote the bass player wrote that Doing That Thing You Do.
Oh, and that's one of like the best movie songs ever. That actually lives up to what, you know, everyone in that movie talks about how great the song is, and usually it's something really lame and mediocre, but that's a great song.
The funny thing is that I didn't know about that going into it. I think the movie came out when I was 13 or so, and then after I found that out, I was like, this is the best thing ever, and Fountains of Wayne could play this at every single show. It's just one of their tunes. But do you have certain ones in mind?
Well, now that you say that thing you do, I remember the song in the School of Rock by the lead singer of the Mooney Suzuki, whose name I don't know. I think that's a good song. I named off, obviously, Simon Garfunkel. I think Bob Dylan did the score for Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Let me think.
Well,
I came up with this idea. I should have. Well,
most recently, going down this list that I mentioned, there's Daft Punk, which is probably the one that started the famous talk about, you know, bands that should cover to scores and things like that. And then there's Eddie Vedder did Into the Wild, and Brett McKenzie from Flight of the Conchords did the Muppets. And when I was looking at this and you sent it out, I was thinking Jack White was replaced by Hans Zimmerman. But at the same time, I listened to, I think it was on the Treatment podcast from KCRW. And they were talking with the Wachowskis about Cloud Atlas. And they said that they actually wrote the music before the film. And many times when you make a movie, they said you do the film and then you have people write just a general idea for what the score would be. So maybe it's a mix of the timeline for the movie got pushed back, talking about the Lone Ranger, so they replaced Jack White. Or maybe it's just that they thought he's got the best name to put on there. It's like, this is going to be so trendy and cool. And then they didn't exactly like what he wrote. It's a possibility.
That's quite possible.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Jack White, but that's one way that it could have gone down.
I was going to pose a question to you. Who hasn't scored a film that you would like to see score a film? And when I was thinking of it, Jack White was the person, because I am a big White Stripes fan, that I would come up with and say, oh yeah, that's awesome, I want to buy that soundtrack. But so I'm still hoping that more of his, like, whatever sounds he created work their way into the movie, because tonally that also sounds interesting for a Lone Ranger movie, to have these squealy guitars and whatnot. Did you come up with any artists for that challenge?
Well, first, I completely self-indulgent went with Edgar Wright as the director and Chris Ballou from Presidents of the United States of America. But the problem is that you need to be a musician. Like, it's easy for an electronic musician or a producer duo. and even like Brett McKenzie, somebody who writes completely out of the box music. You need to have something that you can go super loud and have those great themes, and write Superman or Raiders of the Lost Ark, but you also need to be able to write something ambient. So I didn't know if Chris Ballou could pull that off. But then I thought of a perfect band, and I'm pretty sure you'll back me up, and that's Modest Mouse.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I could definitely see them just with some absolutely bizarre music, and probably teamed up maybe the Coen brothers or something like that.
Oh, wow. I wasn't very good at coming up with the collaborations or thinking of who should work with who. And I'm gonna fall back. You came up with these really original ideas, and I go back to a house music or electronic music guy. I was thinking James Murphy of LCD Sound System would be cool because he comes up with some really great sounds. I do think it's better to have a music producer than maybe a band, because maybe it's part of me not being a musician. Most of what gravitates me towards certain artists are lyrics, and you don't want those. Then you get Mrs. Robinson and The Graduate, and it becomes, or the Bee Gees and Saturday Night Fever, it becomes more about the album and the music than the movie.
Well, you're anticipating The Great Gatsby much more than I am. Are you on board with the Jay-Z tag team?
Not being a big Jay-Z fan, and there is another guy who is score producing it with him. He's not doing it alone. I didn't write that down in my notes, but it's not all on Hova's shoulders. But I think that is definitely a brave decision. And he's obviously one of the great hip-hop guys.
The last decade?
Yeah, sounding really white here, but one of those hip-hop dudes. But I think that's really cool. I think that could really,
he knows a good beat, that's for certain.
Oh, yeah, for
and,
sure.
It probably fits well into the aesthetic of, modern Broadway style that is Baz Luhrmann.
Exactly.
So I think it could be cool. Maybe it might make me actually want to see the film.
Oh, wow.
That's harsh. I do want to see the film.
Well, this is more of a rumor, but Universal Studios, a rumor kind of came out that Universal Studios, which made a lot of money and has become a great hit, or they've had a huge hit on their hands with the wonderful Wizarding World of Harry Potter at the Orlando Islands of Adventure. There's talk about them bringing it to Hollywood because it's been such a hit. And there's been talk that they may have their sights on another fantasy franchise that would be Tolkien's Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings, doing a theme park about that. I know Disney is working on an Avatar land to try and kind of outshine Wizarding World of Harry Potter and whatnot. Having visited the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I'm not letting you talk here, Pat.
No, that's fine. I'm listening.
I have to say it is one of the coolest amusement park experiences. Even I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan.
I was going to say, do you need to be a Harry Potter enthusiast?
Not really. And I've seen all the movies, obviously, but it is cool to be... Like, that's what I want in an amusement park, is this immersion that you get where everyone's in character. They have several different shops, and it's way crowded at the moment because it's still kind of new and whatnot. And the rides stand up. They have a variety of rides. What would get you to an amusement park? Would it be a Tolkien amusement park?
Well, when you wrote that down there and would I want to go, I'm thinking the last time I went to Disneyland, because my parents live in the LA area, it was over $100 just to buy a ticket. And I was thinking, I don't know if I want to pay $100 to go into Middle Earth. There's plenty of wizards and dragons and goblins and probably really cool areas that they could just put the entire map of the Tolkien universe and make that the map of the theme park. But then I also heard that recently that Marvel and Disney are considering, maybe this is the same type of rumor that may not happen, but that they're thinking about doing like a Marvel universe. And I don't know if that would mean all of the Marvel, characters, or if Sony would have some sort of say over Spider-Man and, the X-Men and all that stuff. But they've got plenty of characters that I would be interested in. So if that happened, you could totally do that. There's a Batman ride at many Six Flags parks. There's a Superman ride in Chicago. Those are DC things, but I think they could pull that off.
Well, interestingly enough, Universal Islands of Adventure has a Marvel superhero island. I didn't know if you knew that. It has the world famous Hulk coaster, a really cool, amazing Spider-Man ride. I wanted to go to that as soon as it opened. It took the Harry Potter land opening for my wife to be like, okay, let's go to that. So Disney can't open a Marvel park in Florida because of the deal Universal has with Disney, or Universal has with Marvel, but they can in California. So it is very likely that there's no way they're not going to... I was in a Disney store just the other day at the Mall of America, and they're selling Marvel stuff. So there's no way they're going to let that asset go to waste in California if they have a ride. Or if they have the rights to do so. That said, the Universal Islands of Adventure Marvel area is really super cool.
Well, the idea of a Middle-earth theme park also seems a little weird because it doesn't have like the merchandise that Harry Potter does or that the Marvel action figures has now. They don't have a way to lock in kids. Like a Marvel park would probably hit the ground running just because several of my friends who have kids, they watch, like the Little Avengers or whatever that show is called, the cartoon.
Yeah, Superhero Squad.
Superhero Squad. So I'm not exactly certain that would fly with Middle-earth. Is there a built-in like younger fan base, or is it all super nerds that are going to want to see it?
It's interesting because Lord of the Rings for sure isn't nearly as kid-friendly as Harry Potter for definitely. But I know The Hobbit is supposed to be more like that's a kid's book. So maybe, I know, having seen the first movie, it's a little child-friendlier than The Lord of the Rings, but it's still not warm and cuddly by any means. So, and I know there's certainly lots of toys, but maybe they can sell giant Hobbit feet. You can get your own Hobbit feet formed. Like, I know the Harry Potter land you can get your own wand. Like, someone picks it out for you, or the wand picks you, something like that.
Interesting.
The interesting spin on this, and this is only because I experienced it yesterday, I ate at Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. That's still going strong. That is a movie-themed, like, restaurant.
They're all over the place. Didn't fall apart like Planet Hollywood. That's
exactly.
So bizarre.
It's so weird. Like, they're still talking about Forrest Gump like it's the hottest movie, and it came out like 94.
Wait, there is Forrest Gump themed stuff in the restaurant? Because I've never been there.
For sure. There's photos everywhere. The restaurant, it says like Jenny's Catch. The menu's themed Forrest Gump. They have like license plates where you flip up. It says Run Forrest Run, and if you want the waiter or waitress to stop, you flip it up. It says Stop Forrest Stop.
Wow. Is that going to hold in 20 years?
I don't know. It's held up. I mean, how long? 94. So it's been like...
Is that the Wizard of Oz in the 90s?
Maybe Forrest Gump. And the thing is, that movie is such a nostalgia thing. Like, I was told, you're not going to appreciate Forrest Gump because you didn't live through this stuff by my aunt once. And I still like the movie fine, but being there at that restaurant, I'm like, wow, it's like the 90s are still alive here, even though it's a throwback. But enough talking about theme stuff. A few shows ago, Pat, I was gone. I was sick, actually.
And I just left mud all over the Justice League.
Oh, not really. Well, you did talk about rumors about the Justice League cast, or not the cast, but what the story was going to be in the Justice League movie coming out in a couple years. DC trying to get their answer to the Avengers out. And this week, a rumored lineup for the team, the Justice League, came online on the internet, and it's about what you would expect. It was Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, the Hal Jordan, the
one from the Ryan Reynolds film.
It's exactly what the internet article says. It says the one from the Ryan Reynolds movie, Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Aquaman. Really, the core team. I mean, this isn't big news. I mean, you would assume if they're going to do it, they're going to bring out the big.
They're going to put them all in there. Yeah, do it or don't do it.
I just wanted to bring it up because it would give me an excuse to weigh in on the Justice League movie. Because when you guys talked about it, I don't think your brother or friend had much to say about
it. Yeah, Jordan and them, no. They told me about Darkseid.
Darkseid, yes.
Yeah, I wanted to say Seed, but I was saying that these characters are too powerful and important to just dump all in one film without any setup.
It's very likely that'll be their downfall so far, especially since I kind of believe this rumor that they would want the Green Lantern to be the one from the Green Lantern movie. I think they were really trying to do the Marvel thing, take a tier 2 hero, have a huge hit, and then set up things later. But I think now it is more interesting to go the anti-Marvel way because everyone's going to compare them to Marvel every beat of the way. They already gonna. I just compared Green Lantern to Iron Man in a negative light, and we'll see how Man of Steel falls in. I don't think the Nolan Batman things are going to tie in at all. What I objected to in your podcast is your instant dismissal of Wonder Woman, however, who I can't remember what you said. You just said she was a ridiculous. Oh, it doesn't matter, but I do get how she is a ridiculous.
Maybe
character.
My problem is the TV show. I don't know.
She does have an American flag for panties, and that is a huge problem with the character. But I do think some cool things can be done with Wonder Woman. She's an Amazon. The Amazons are cool. Greek mythology is cool. It just matters whoever they get to write it. I don't even think they've announced a writer, or they did have a writer. But until they get a
I don't know.
Until they get a director attached. It was so weird when I actually saw this lineup. It was like on Superhero Hype or Comic Book Movie, one of those websites. They also had a link to Green Lantern 2 script details revealed. That was from December. Like it was a recent, and it was just so believable. And I don't know.
I don't know if I'm on board with this. The Martian, the Manhunter, Aquaman, and then just to have the Superman and Batman and the Flash. And you haven't set up the Flash in the slightest, and he's so liked by the nerds, but these are characters people know, but then you're tackling on these characters that have just been covered in
the problem will be if they try and shove in 7 origin stories into this movie.
Yeah, that you almost have to.
I don't think you do. I think you can just go with it. There are these heroes, and then have movies afterwards. I imagine that's what they would do if a Wonder Woman movie were to come afterwards. They're not everyone. I mean, I would say everyone knows Aquaman's origin. No one probably knows Aquaman's origin. He doesn't really have an origin. He's the king of the sea. I mean, what else do you really need to have like a Thor type movie where he's fighting with a rival king or something like that?
Part of the problem is in Josh Whedon, when he was on the Q&A podcast, he said that it's hard because you need to introduce these characters to each other. Are they just going to drop us in there and have us believe that the Justice League has always been around and that they know each other and they've fought other villains before? Or is it going to have to be an Avengers style? We meet, we hate each other for a moment, we team up, and then we finally overcome whatever villain they're fighting against?
I would hope not, but
it's hard to do.
What it has to be, yeah.
It's pretty hard to do that without any sort of relationship between these characters at all.
Yeah, I don't envy the makers of the Justice League, but I do commend them for just jumping into it feet first.
Well, this is a long news segment, but I wanted to. You put this in there, the WGA nominations for it's the Writers Guild of America, and it's interesting because they talk about best adapted screenplay, best original screenplay, and they have some rules that keep films out. And I don't know if that was what interested you in the topic, but there's films that are not nominated by the WGA, such as Anna Karenina, Beasts of the Southern Wild, Les Mis, Django Unchained, Seven Psychopaths. These movies are not eligible.
I didn't know about Django and Seven Psychopaths.
Well, it's interesting. This is why it's worthy to talk about, because here's the rules for being involved. Foreign films are out because they're a part of their own guild.
It's the Writers Guild of America.
So if you're a foreign film, I'm sorry, Anna Karenina or The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel or even Les Mis, you're not going to be in there. The Impossible, you're out. Secondly, independent films are generally written by people who are not guild members. Maybe they join after the movie comes out, but they're not guild members. So those films like Beasts, it's not going to happen. And finally, I call this the Michael Jordan of the guild, Tarantino. I know you're not a giant sports fan, but Michael Jordan and Barry Bonds were well known in the 90s for not joining the Players Association of their respective sports because they wanted to be in charge of their own image. While Tarantino didn't join the guild after Reservoir Dogs because he wanted complete anonymity from the rules and be independent. So everything he's written has never been up for a WGA award.
Oh, I knew he wasn't in the DGA because that's how he was able to direct that one scene in Sin City because it would be against the rules otherwise.
I forgot about that, but it's interesting that those films are not in, and of course the movies that you would expect otherwise are nominated: Lincoln, Argo, Life of Pi, Silver Linings Playbook, and Perks of Being a Wallflower for Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Original: Flight, Looper, The Master, Moonrise Kingdom, and Zero Dark 30. Do you feel there's any locks in either of those groups?
No locks. I think this is a wide open year.
You know, I read something on CNN of all places that said that of any movie that's a lock for anything, it's Zero Dark 30 or Best Original. It's original. It's original. Okay. But it's the way neither of us have seen it yet because it hasn't been released in our areas. But just that. It's
the bulk of information that has to be.
Yeah, it's 10 years. It's the most known man in the last decade who was being manhunted, and just the way they brought it. Until we see it, we can't really comment on that.
Exactly.
But I saw that; it made me a little sad.
I remember hearing that Moneyball should have been a lock for all the adapted writing awards last year because it was basically taking a nonfiction book about numbers and making it a entertaining film, and I don't think it won
I can't think of what
screenplay awards, but anyway, I'm interested in the WGA awards, even though I don't think there's a televised cast of it or anything. It's always just neat to read which one wins each one. And while we're talking awards, just mention briefly why we're not talking about the Academy Awards, which may have been announced by the time you hear this. They are announced Wednesday, the 10th, I believe. So, Pat, quickly, is there anything you would want to see in the Academy Awards before we're spoiled next week? I know we'll talk about
I can't really think of of anything? I know you have a certain film that you have in mind.
I have performances, and one I will talk about later in the show.
Maybe I'd say I would like to see it just because it would cause so many people to be upset, is Killing Them Softly be nominated for any sort of the major awards. Just because people seem to have some sort of ire about how terrible that movie is. And the more I think about it, the more I actually like it. And I feel like I should have recommended it on the podcast.
It kind of has a sneakiness to it, at least in the craft. I still don't know if I would recommend the film, but it is a good-looking film. It should maybe get a cinematography nod.
It's like going into a pop art installment feature, where like an entire warehouse is an art display and you're just completely submersed. And then here's Killing Them Softly, where it's just like you're beat in the face with its theme over and over again. So I don't know, what's the film that you...
Well, there were two performances in Seven Psychopaths I would like to see nominated, would be Sam Rockwell and Christopher Walken. Two performers I think we are starting to take for granted for being the type of actors they are. I think they really delivered it in that film. There's no way they will both get a nomination. But enough with that. Let's go from one like violent film to another, from Seven Psychopaths to Django Unchained.
Good cold evening, gentlemen. Amongst your inventory, I've been led to believe is a specimen I'm keen to acquire.
When I hear that trumpet sound...
What's your name?
I'm gonna rise right out of the ground.
Django. Then you're exactly the one I'm looking for.
A German bounty hunter teams up with a shackled slave to find 3 outlaws and in turn free his slaved wife.
Do you know what a bounty hunter is? You kill people, and they give you a reward. Better they are, bigger the reward. I need your help. I'm looking for the Brittle Brothers. However, I don't know what they look like, but you do. Once a final Brittle Brother lies dead in the dust, I agree to give you your freedom, and I'll take you to rescue your wife. Where are we going?
Quentin Tarantino returns to the director's chair for his 8th film, Django Unchained. And yes, all his signatures are there. Eloquent dialogue, unexpected casting, an interesting setting, and what many people seem to focus on, the violence. After making gangster movies, kung fu movies, a World War II film, this film has Tarantino writing and directing a spaghetti western set in the pre-Civil War days of the South. America's slavery past is a very touchy subject that is generally not taken lightly by Hollywood. While Quentin Tarantino's films are never full-blown comedies, they always provide a good deal of laughs. So Jacob, putting the violence on the back burner for the moment, did you find Tarantino's handling of America's shameful past distasteful or a deft tale of revenge in the 1850s South?
You hit me with the hard question at the very beginning.
I gotta get it out there.
Go straight to the racism and the slavery and the controversy around that film. It's hard to... it definitely is not beloved. And it is not... I'm referring to the film. I'm not saying the film is not beloved. Because I honestly will go out right on and say I really liked Django Unchained to the point of beloving it. But I also don't think it takes slavery lightly. I think it does show it in a cruel way that maybe some of these more Hollywood films taking on slavery maybe avoid the whipping, the graphic whipping, and the chains, and the way cuffs will mangle a person's wrist and stuff. Whether or not Tarantino, I mean, he's got guts to take this on.
Absolutely, that is completely true.
But I do not feel like I want to talk about whether or not, as a white man, should he tell a story of a African American character in the defining period for America.
Yeah, that's true. Well, at least it's past. The thing that wants me to bring it up is because sitting there, I don't know how much of it is true or how much he's embellishing, but I definitely felt like I was learning something and being pretty disgusted about at least what I was seeing from that time in history. And it was like, at no point did I feel like he was saying, hey, you know what? Slavery wasn't that bad. If anything, it was like, these people lived a horrific life,
Exactly.
And even the parts where, even the Cleopatra Club, where there's all these black women singing with white men at a table. I was like, man, just the way that no one seems to be talking about how that's showing both sides of it. That slavery in the fields is terrible and the whipping is there. Everybody's probably seen Roots. At least I know most people have. I saw it when I was a kid in school. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think he should get a lot of credit for showing that stuff that's just so hard to believe. It's almost like the Passion of the Christ or something.
A little bit. And he does tackle on kind of race in a modern in a modern way as well. The way, because Django is a slave or a black man who rides a horse in this movie, and when he does that, all the white men like look horrified of him. Mm-hmm. And maybe Tarantino's saying something about white reaction to a black person in power. Maybe that has something to do with contemporary issues. I don't know. I really, I'm glad we're tackling this head on so we can get on to the more entertaining aspects of the film. I don't want to try and say what Tarantino is trying to say about race, because that's what's everybody else seems to be doing. And I mean, he's being a little bit of a provocateur, but mainly he's trying to make an entertaining film with this.
Yeah. But there was one thing I noticed, if I could cut in,
go ahead.
When he uses music a lot in films and a lot of violence, of course, but I found that in the scenes that had to deal with the slavery, there wasn't the trendy music playing. No. It was more the cinematic swells and whatnot. And I found that to be the defining aspect, is that the violence was all there kind of like, almost to keep you at a distance from that, because it's comedic violence where he shoots a woman from a stairwell and she goes flying. But that doesn't happen in the slavery scenes. When someone's being ripped apart by dogs, there's not, like a Jay-Z beat behind it, to use what we were talking about earlier. It's very like you are watching something terrible.
But when Django is getting his revenge on white men and it becomes kind of this blaxploitation film, that's when that music comes on. Mm-hmm. And maybe if someone really gets uncomfortable by the idea, and I think they even address it in the film, though, the idea that Django was promised he can kill white men and get paid for it. I don't know if Tarantino's really trying to celebrate that idea. Maybe a little bit. It's not quite the fetishizing of killing Nazis in Inglourious Basterds. It kind of comes close, but I think he pulls the punch a little bit there. I mean, not that that's a bad thing. I just don't think he's glorifying it all that much.
Well, I guess we've tackled the hard stuff. Now let's talk about the filmmaking. I
don't know how well I tackled it.
No, we did it. We did it. I think we had a very astute conversation there. Oh.
But what I really liked about this film is that, at least for the first half, it played just like a straight up Western. For a while I was like, I should have brought my dad to this, or I should show this to my father-in-law, because they really like Westerns. It felt like a Leone Western. It had these like vistas, a lot of these signature shots, lots of people riding on horses and
walking across the sunset, exactly. Obvious shot there.
And it's very entertaining. It gets really violent really quick. And I know walking out of the theater, I heard a lot of people behind me going, typical Tarantino violence. That's all people associate with him. And I think that's a shame, because he is so witty in his visual language and with his dialogue, obviously. And all people take away is the amount of blood. But there is a lot of blood in
Well, that's why I was saying that I think that the violence is so cartoony, because it's almost like something to be some levity in a film that is otherwise very intense on a conversing scale. That when people converse, obviously there's some funny things there, but all the violence is heads exploding, and people being whipped back by what must have been a rope tied around their chest when they got shot.
And that's maybe what I was getting at when I was saying it was not going quite as... I mean, it's letting you know that it's a movie and kind of a cartoon, whereas in Inglourious Basterds, I think the violence was a little bit more realistic. I'm just not out... That's where I'll stop the whole killing white people versus killing different kinds of white people allegory. And moving on from that, Pat, where would you... I mean, do you think this is one of Tarantino's better attempts at tackling a genre?
Tackling the genre, and that's something I hadn't really considered. I think so, mainly because in the World War II film, and I felt like I was watching a Quentin Tarantino take on World War II. Yeah. But the parts that were Western and, like a Venge Tale, outside of the things that were obviously in a set, but the parts in the saloon and in the street, and when they went to that plantation, it felt like you were wide open shots, people being slow and taking in the scene, almost like Clint Eastwood's known to do in his older Western films. I think it was maybe one of his better takes on it, without stealing too much from other movies. Not stealing, but paying homage to other movies.
I think Inglourious Basterds, to me, felt a lot like a pastiche. Like, I'm trying, this is me doing a World War II film.
And there's so much in it about filmmaking. There's like a complete, aside, hey, let's go talk about, World War II propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. And Kill Bill is his, I'm doing kung fu, and this actually felt like a real movie. Like, this is, I think, what he wanted to do with Inglourious Basterds, move beyond these pastiches and trying to do a real movie again, like he had done with Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown. And this one felt like that to me. And I liked, and it's not just a Western, it is also a blaxploitation film, which he did a little bit with Jackie Brown, but I really think I liked the genre mashing of that, not gender. He hasn't made that film yet.
I was thinking about this when obviously you think about a director's catalog, especially writer-director, and when you think about like Citizen Kane, for instance, everybody knows that movie is amazing, but a lot of people who don't know about its importance in filmmaking and the time period, they don't get it. They think it's really boring. And I think in 50 years, people might think that Pulp Fiction's cool, but the better films might be Reservoir Dogs or Django for that matter, because for the last 10 years, I think a lot of Quentin Tarantino's movies, as good as they are and as funny as some of the dialogue is and cutting as it is, there seems to be something here beyond just being funny or being violent, and it uses the setting more than the characters, I feel, to get across what it's trying. Maybe not what he's intending to get across, but what I felt it was about the nature of the South in the 1850s. And
a lot of that, of course, is what we talked about earlier with race. Anything about this film that didn't quite click with you?
Some of those scenes, Inglourious Basterds, the very first scene is obviously the one that won Christoph Waltz the Oscar, where he's in this French dairy house and he knows there's Jews there. But it seemed to me that the scenes where they're sitting in the saloon and they're talking and him and Django are conversing for the first time, it almost seemed to slow it down to a point that I thought kind of there were pacing issues at that point. And when they were having the dinner scene later until it got ridiculous, I thought that kind of was slow. And then without spoiling it, I can't talk too much, but there's the coda to the movie that felt like here it comes, but it almost felt like it was 20 minutes too long at that point.
That's my same criticism, is that, and for me, the pacing was in the second half where it got really shaggy, and once they get to the Candyland, which when you see the movie that makes sense, it becomes a little shaggy, and it has probably the worst cameo of all time in it, I think, by a director in their own film.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if he had a dialogue coach to help him.
Oh, my gosh. I have to imagine that's from one of the people, like there were so many people who were supposed to have cameos in this film. I bet one of them backed out and was like, I can do that, and I'll give myself a horrible accent. But that was almost enough when I was thinking, because I do like star ratings on Flickster. We don't give star ratings on the podcast, but I'm like, that's almost enough for me to dock this a half star, just because I hated that cameo so much. But that's really not seeing the forest for the trees. But what else was I going to say?
Well, what about the Ku Klux Klan bags on their heads? That whole bit
that is funny.
A skit.
And that's funny. The problem is, I mean, I don't see that as a tonal issue. I do, but I mean, I could see how someone could say they're really cartoonish Ku Klux Klan members and really silly. But I was laughing. I mean, that's the most laughs I think that the movie has.
This is the funny thing too about Quentin Tarantino movies is that, people might say, well, that might be what hurts the film is those stupid scenes. Yeah, those tonal issues. But at the same time, you got to think in the 1850s, not everything was super serious. There's got to be a point where you're dealing with a bag over your head with eyeballs cut out. Those are the times where I imagine he's spitballing an idea and someone says, yeah, I bet that happened,
But that's what makes Tarantino, that irreverence, that willing to not follow the rules. He can have a goofy scene involving the Ku Klux Klan, as in poor taste as that sounds with us just talking about it. I think it works in the film, and it doesn't stick out to me as a sore thumb. If anything, it sticks out to me as a highlight in that first half. I already went on the rant about the worst performance in the film, that of Quentin Tarantino. But I do want to say I thought the cast uniformly was really good, Pat. Do you have any comments on the cast?
I thought Jamie Foxx was excellent.
Yeah, I was surprised by him.
Yeah, it was definitely a less is more type for at least for the first 2/3, where he kept it very cool and low. And that seems to be a major thing in acting these days, is less is more. It seems like a lot of modern actors have kind of figured that out. But I'm not a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan, generally because he does the yelling in every movie where I'm like, oh, there's the Leo yell. But in this movie, it seemed to fit perfectly. I didn't care that he was screaming his heads off. It wasn't when I was having major issues with him in Shelter Island for constantly screaming. But I really enjoyed Leonardo DiCaprio, which is kind of a big deal for me.
And I think Christoph Waltz, again, proves himself as a great
He's
actor.
not a one-trick pony.
He's not a one-trick pony. And in many ways, he's as charismatic as his character in Inglourious Basterds, but he is playing a completely different character. Again, very verbal and charming, but a different turn. He can basically say the same kind of words, but be a different character. He's that good of actor. The performance, I think, that is not getting enough attention in Django Unchained, and this is the one I would like to see get a Oscar nomination. I do not think it's going to happen. Is that of Samuel L. Jackson, because he is an actor. Again, I think we're starting to take him for granted because he's the guy who shows up and yells in movies.
Everything.
But it literally everything on talk show appearances on Saturday Night Live. It takes balls to play that. It takes balls for Tarantino to write the character that Samuel L. Jackson plays in this movie.
Yeah, like
this Uncle Tom character,
the house slave. Yeah.
The house slave. But to perform it and to perform it with, I mean, it wouldn't work if the actor didn't commit to it and give it levels. He can come out and all of a sudden he's a step and fetch it type character, which is brave to do. But as we see more of the character, you begin to see a level of menace. And I think my MVP, besides Tarantino for putting the whole thing together, is Sam Jackson for making the film work.
It's interesting too because he's very much the same character of, say, Amy Adams in The Master, where he's being so kind to Leonardo DiCaprio's Candy. But at the same time, he is almost the brains of the operation, and it's obvious at a certain point that he's telling you've had the wool pulled over your eyes or whatever, and it's pretty interesting to see him go from being how's it going, sir, when they pull up to the house, to suddenly just turning it on and saying, Jamie Foxx, don't you, to Broomhilda.
Yes, exactly. Well, if you have seen Django Unchained and want to tell us about it, email us at filmcastwoac@gmail.com. Pat, you recommend this film?
Absolutely.
I highly recommend it as well if you're a fan of Westerns and violence as well. Speaking of violence, Django Unchained is rated R for strong graphic violence throughout, a vicious fight, language, and some nudity. Stay tuned, and we are going to talk about some of our New Year's resolutions for 2013. New on DVD the week of January 8th. A bunch of films I kind of really want to check out. Compliance being one of them, the really disturbing sounding...
One you'll have to watch on your own.
Yeah, probably. About a prank gone wrong.
Prank gone right, apparently, because the person calls in and tells the manager of a restaurant that the clerk, stole some money and then makes them do all these terrible things. It's real life. Yeah. You can watch the surveillance video online of this actually happening.
Yeah, apparently the film got a lot of the facts right, and it's very disturbing to watch. A film I did see, Dread, is coming out on DVD. I kind of recommend Dread. And Frankenweenie, which I missed. Hit and Run, the Dax Shepard, Kristen Bell car comedy action film I really don't want to check out. And House at the End of the Street, the thriller starring Jennifer Lawrence. Pat, Christmas just came and went. Last time we talked about you hadn't had your family Christmas yet. Did you get any good movie stuff?
I have now in my possession the essential James Bond book, historical, everything obviously up to Daniel Craig. But I have to read it through now, and then next time we review a James Bond movie, I can say, did you know, to you.
I look forward to
that. But that's really mainly the only thing I got that's movie-based. But, I got some cash, so maybe I'll buy a film.
Yeah, so, I got a few Blu-rays. Big Trouble in Little China, love it. I got the Little Shop of Horrors Blu-ray with the director's cut. Haven't watched it, but that's one of my favorites. And a funny thing happened at my wife's family Christmas.
Is that a movie?
No.
Sorry.
I opened it up, and it was something I had on my Amazon list. It was the Tom Cruise collection. And I get really defensive for some reason about it, because I know Tom Cruise is very divisive. I'm like, it's okay. It has awesome movies. I know people don't like Tom. I went really wackadoo and got really defensive. It's like, it's okay. This has Top Gun and Collateral and Minority Report and War of the Worlds. It's good movies.
All those movies?
Yeah,
wow.
It's got 5 movies. And it has Days of Thunder, which I haven't seen. But I got really defensive about it, worried that people would think I was a weirdo because I asked for the Tom Cruise. I don't know why I did it, but I came off weirder because I got super defensive about Tom Cruise.
That guy's weirder than Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I know he has weird beliefs, and because I don't know. it's still an outsider into the in-laws family. Maybe I got a little defensive. But
well, on that same vein, do I see that you saw Jack Reacher this week?
I did see Jack Reacher. I saw a couple movies over break. Jack Reacher and Silver Linings Playbook. I don't know how much I want to get into either because
maybe we'll review.
Maybe we'll review them. Maybe you'll see them and we can talk in depth. But I will say both were good films. And Jack Reacher, I'll talk a little bit more about Jack Reacher. It's probably less likely we'll review that, but we can have a conversation later if we do. But I can see why people would get annoyed by it because Tom Cruise is literally the best at everything in that movie. He's the best fighter. He's the best detective. Every time there's a woman in the film, she gives Tom Cruise a double take. And if you don't like Tom Cruise, that would really annoy you.
Interesting. So Light and Day was a very lighthearted, spy movie where any sort of situation he's going to survive.
Yeah, that kind of character, but a little darker.
The same, so it's the same deal. Yeah, so that was Night and Day, and this is the night part of that.
Yes, and I also saw Sleepwalk with Me on Netflix, and that's a really good film. I recommend.
Well, it's in my queue. I'll have to get around to it.
Oh, I see you saw Killer Joe.
I saw Killer Joe yesterday because I hadn't seen anything all week, and then I had some time. But man,
you didn't watch that with your wife, did you?
Oh no.
Okay.
But I must say that movie was really good.
Yeah.
But the end was something else. It was like all of a sudden they took Killing Them Softly and mashed it all into 20 minutes.
That's
but
a good way of putting
it was something. And I was looking after that to see if Matthew McConaughey was up for a Golden Globe or anything. He is not.
Oh, that's a
shame. And I was like, well, that must mean he's out for probably an Oscar as well. I got to imagine he's up for a SAG award or something because it is quite the performance.
Well, and the thing is, sometimes those guilds will give performances for a year's worth of work.
Oh, he's got the year.
McConaughey has had a good year. I haven't seen Magic Mike yet, but between Bernie and Killer Joe, he's having a good year. A couple other good movies you saw.
Last night, Marita and I watched The Queen of Versailles, and I didn't tell her anything about it. And for the first 30 minutes, she's like, why are we watching this film? I don't care about these billionaires in their house. And that part did go on too long, but as soon as they started losing all their money because of the financial collapse, she didn't say anything. We just watched it, but there were constant comments about
how horrible the people were.
Not how horrible it was, but why do we feel bad for them? It's like you think you feel bad for the kids, but at the same time they've all got their head in the sand. And even after the movie's over, I'm thinking, if this guy dies, unless he has some sort of huge life insurance policy, they're all out of money because they have no savings. The house isn't in their name, it's in the company's name. So if he dies, they might all be living in the street, gone from rags to riches. I mean, riches to rags to riches, back to rags again. But that was interesting. And finally, since you mentioned a 5-hour cut of
Django Unchained apparently has a 5-hour cut that Tarantino may release at some point.
Okay, so Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, there's apparently a 3-hour cut of that movie that's in the vault, never been released. We watched that last night. And
you watched the 3-hour cut?
No, yes, we went all the way out to California, but no, we watched obviously the original, and it's been a long time, but that movie has been ripped off so many times, both by Road Films and How Bad Can It Get Films. It's like keep stumbling into the same rake type movie. But
does it suffer from that? Does it start to feel tired because it's been repeated so often?
John Candy and Steve Martin are so good in that movie that there's no way I couldn't love that film. It'd be interesting though to see people who have seen every Ben Stiller movie and then down the line see Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Say you're 35 and never seen it. Would they have the same reverence for people who like John Hughes films and have seen it before?
I wonder if that 3-hour cut is out there. That's interesting. Yeah. I hope it's better than the extended cut of Stripes. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh my gosh, don't.
Everything past them graduating from basic training isn't really worth watching anyways.
Yeah, anyway. Well, we talked a little bit about what we got for Christmas, and of course after Christmas is New Year's. And what happens after New Year's? New Year's resolution. So here on Filmcast Without a Cause, we wanted to kind of talk about not quite our cinematic resolutions for 2013, but I'm thinking there are a lot of films I have not seen. Pat, are you the same?
Oh, absolutely. I've probably seen all the movies you've seen. I've probably seen half.
Okay. I have a list on IMDb, lets you do lists.
I've watched them.
Hundreds on my watch list. And so, Pat, I wanted us to get together and talk about what we resolved to see in 2013, our movie blind spots that we hope to fill in the next calendar year. Let's start off. I'll let you go first. Are there any classics that you're ashamed you haven't seen?
Yes,
that you think you can get done?
I was figuring this is more of the cinematic blind spots. This might be better titled the Shame on You, Jacob. Shame on you, Pat.
Exactly.
So every time we list a movie that none of us have seen, we have to follow it up with Shame on You. So classics I'm ashamed I haven't seen. Schindler's List for modern day classics. I've never seen it. And maybe it's because I've heard it's so, down in the muck that I've never been in the mood really to watch it. And also, for as big of a Stanley Kubrick fan as I am, I have never seen Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, wow. You should see those right now. We need to stop well, maybe not Schindler's List, you can wait till like March. But Dr. Strangelove, let's go out and find a copy right now.
For people who don't know, nobody knows, but Jacob is in town. This is the last couple nights in town, and we're in my basement again. So maybe tonight will be a beer and Strangelove night.
Mine is kind of in the line of Strangelove, at least the same era. Sometimes when I want to fill these movie blind spots, I pick a director, and then I want to see the main films of that director. And I have seen some Billy Wilder films. I've seen some Like It Hot, and I have seen
Double Indemnity. I haven't seen that either. I'm a terrible person. I've seen The Apartment, though, so I feel good about that.
The Apartment I haven't seen. And actually, some Like It Hot, I just admitted seeing it. I watched it at 2 times speed because I had it in, it was in college, and it was a required viewing. And I watched it, twice as fast as it did, so I could write a 1-page synopsis of it. So I really should rewatch that. That was not.
You're almost as bad as that reviewer who was caught a couple years ago for not seeing the film and reviewing the trailer.
Yeah,
shame on you.
I swear that's the only film I ever did that to. And considering I'm TAing a film class this coming semester, don't do that, students. Do not watch a film at 2 times speed. It's not right. You're only cheating yourself. But other Wilder films I haven't seen: The Apartment, Sunset Boulevard, Double Indemnity, Stalag 17, which is like a World War II prison, war prison, Sabrina, which is kind of a minor classic, and I believe he directed All the President's Men. No, he didn't direct All the President's Men, but I haven't seen All the President's Men, so that I will see this year.
It was on Netflix for a long time, but what about popular favorites? Let's say modern day, well, not even modern day classics, just ones that everybody loves. I'm probably going to upset you with one of my picks, but go ahead.
This is the one where you tell someone you haven't seen it, kind of like what you just did, and someone goes, "OMG, you haven't seen it." Oh my, they get upset. And for me, other than Rocky 3, I think I've talked about this on the podcast. I haven't seen the Rocky movies.
That was one of the first movies I remember crying at.
Rocky 3
when his manager dies. It was
that is sad.
It was a hard time.
Spoiler alert. So maybe my kind of goal is that we do a franchise flashback for the Rocky movies. If we do that again, that's what I hope for. And I have also talked about this on the podcast. I haven't seen Run Lola Run. So this is the year Jacob will see Run Lola Run.
That is maybe the hippest of the hip films in the last 20 years.
Not a super popular film, but when you're talking with film buffs,
it's almost like Donnie Darko in a way, where people have such a reverence for it. But
and it's really short too, so I really don't have a good excuse.
Yes, there's 3 scenes. I think each scene is 20 minutes. Yeah, but my popular favorites, I have not seen Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, I haven't.
Have you seen that?
I saw about half of it on Stars when I was in high school.
And you turned it off.
And I probably turned it off.
Well, they're going to make a sequel, so maybe we should see it before that.
No, and I'm a big fan of The State, as you are. So, add that to my list.
And this is the one you'll probably be upset. It might be a Strange Love / Annie Hall night. Oh my gosh. I have never seen it. And I've seen plenty of his other works. Woody Allen films. Hannah and Her Sisters. What is it? Sleepwalker? Is that the one where he wakes up? Sleeper. That's maybe my favorite one of his films I've seen, and I have not seen Annie Hall.
Oh, Annie Hall is the best of them. You need to see Annie Hall. Well, in 2013, if I have to tie you down to a chair and make you do Strangelove and Annie Hall,
that'd be a weird afternoon.
That would be a little weird. Well, in our final category, I was thinking wheelhouse movies, and these are films that seem like they would be made for you, and you are aware of them, but for some reason or another, you haven't seen it yet. Pat, I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay, well, my first pick is I've seen about 30 minutes of it while I was doing some housework. I had to turn it off. Layer Cake. Oh. I'm a big fan of, heist films and modern, cool, almost noir films. I have not seen Layer Cake, and it's pretty much the movie that launched Sienna Miller and Daniel Craig.
Yeah, exactly, and Matthew Vaughn as a director.
That's true. Oh my goodness. And secondly, I've seen the original, but I have not seen probably the more popular sequels of Mad Max: The Road Warrior or Beyond Thunderdome.
Beyond Thunderdome, I think you can probably
people laugh about,
but Road Warrior is awesome. I was just talking with my brother about Road Warrior this week. It's great. And there's a new Road Warrior movie or Mad Max movie maybe coming out this year with Tom Hardy.
The interesting thing about the original is that it's at times almost a silent film because nobody says anything after his and I don't think you hear his wife or child say anything up until, for people who haven't seen it, I won't say anything.
It's been a while, but
there are long stretches where nobody says anything, and apparently cars in the future, dystopian future, are kept from the 1960s.
Road Warrior is like 5 times better than Mad Max. You should see the Road Warrior. Looking back at my list, you could see how much I was paying attention. Wet Hot American Summer was actually on my wheelhouse movie list for the reasons we talked about earlier, and I have not seen The Running Man.
Oh my goodness!
It's so weird because I love sci-fi movies and I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I figured it out. I was thinking about why haven't I seen The Running Man? I've even read the Richard Bachman novella that The Running Man is based off of. But why haven't I seen the movie? And it kind of came to me. There's a character on Lost named Desmond who he has one Dickens book that he hasn't read because as soon as he reads it, he has no more Dickens to read. It's Our Mutual Friend. And that's when it clicked to me, is like, I have not seen Running Man because I want to have that one Arnold film that I haven't seen. But now he's back.
Wait, you've seen Junior?
Oh, yeah, I've seen Junior. I've seen Twins. I've seen Red Heat. I've seen Raw Deal.
Oh, my goodness. That was the one I was going to say. I haven't seen that.
But I have not seen The Running Man. But now that he is making films again, he has like 3 coming out in 2013. It's safe.
I would say hold on to Running Man because it's not a classic by any means, but it's so fun and good at points that... if you have to have the last Arnold Schwarzenegger movie to see, don't make it something that's bad in his sunset days. Maybe if you care that much. No. I mean, I would see it just to see it. But
darn it.
If you want your last Arnold movie to be a good one, I'd say wait on The Running Man.
Oh, now I'm confused again. Well, while I did you have any more blind spots?
I did just took a couple genre cracks at it. I have never seen science fiction, a couple movies. I've never seen The Black Hole.
Oh, I got my brother that for Christmas. I didn't talk about my brother too much.
We should drive down there and steal it. But and I've never seen all the way through Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh wow, that's a good one.
And for independent films, because I'm trying to see a lot more independent films throughout the decades, I have never seen Mean Streets, and I have never seen THX 1138, which was on Netflix, but I think is down now.
Oh, that's so. Well, I don't like THX 1138, but you should still see it so you can complain about it with me.
No.
But as I still try and wrestle with this idea of whether or not I should see The Running Man, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to wrap the show up. Well, that about does it for our show for this week. If there is anything that we have said over the past hour or so that has angered your blood, or if you just have something to say, Pat, how can people get a hold of us?
Well, if you want to do it in a public way, bash us in front of crowds of millions, there's Twitter. Filmcast Without a Cause, WOAC. Tweet us and we'll put it on the show. Filmcastwithoutacause.com. Leave some feedback there and you're guaranteed to get in the show. Mm-hmm. There's the Fwalk phone if you want to give us your ire with sound so that we can play it. It's the Fwalk phone number is 515-412-0737. And, of course, you can send us an email, which is filmcastwoac@gmail.com.
Maybe if you see one of the films coming out the week of January 11th, it'd be a good idea to get a hold of us and let us know what you think. Among those films is Gangster Squad, the delayed Gangster Squad finally coming out, as well as the Wayans Brothers comedy, A Haunted House. Pat, I know that's your pick for this week. No. But we will be reviewing Zero Dark 30, the Osama bin Laden, Catherine Bigelow Manhunt film.
I actually saw a trailer in the theater that had Jessica Chastain's voice in it.
Oh, really?
I thought for a minute there she was going to be like, there's this silent figure the entire movie.
Is it the one with the kids singing Nothing Else Matters?
Yes.
Yeah,
I was like, this is straight out of The Social Network. Is this going to be the new thing? Instead of using the Inception, they're going to start having choirs of children.
And I did want to have a little mea culpa. Last week there were films that have gone wide that I forgot to mention. I was too hung up on Texas Chainsaw. And I forgot to I called it Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. It's just called Texas Chainsaw 3D.
And it is a sequel to the original.
To the original Texas Chainsaw. Okay, well, we were wrong. So yell at us about that if you go see Texas Chainsaw. I prefer, even if you don't see it in 3D, it has a funnier title. It's just Texas Chainsaw. Like, I don't know. But also that came out. The Impossible, Not Fade Away, and Promised Land, that fracking film. So lots of films out there in the theater. Actually, January is somewhat of a dead time, but since December had such a big load,
it's the beginning of the month. This is what happens. I think There Will Be Blood came out like the middle of January nationwide, and that was up for up against No Country for Old Men for Best Film of the Year. It took forever to finally see that film.
Yeah, I remember that. 2008, good year for film.
This seems to be a pretty hard-fought year as well. So.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me into your basement, Pat.
Anytime.
And thank you, people, for listening. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Patrick. And that's a wrap.
I'm finished.